In Acharei Mot, Perek Yud Zayin, Pasuk Yud.
Sounds familiar.
So we'll read the Psukim. Come, sit down. The Pasuk says, everyone has it in the regular Pamashim. It's in the big art, in the little article on page
337.
3. Okay, everyone has it? Pasuk Yud. The Ish, the base Israel. It says any man, right? Pasuk Yud? Everyone has it? Yeah. Just check on your neighbor, just everyone's neighbor should have it. The Haftal Rechel Kamarz is also in this week's Parsha, Parshas Kedoshim. Yeah. But we got Acharei Mot first, so.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, it's very good. It's there. It's like it's the Ramban, the Rambam. Mamish Kamarz. We would go into that. Okay, so the pasuk says, "V'ish mi-beis Yisrael." Every man from the Klal Yisrael, u'min hager, agar b'seicham, or from the Gerim, asher yochel kol dam, they will eat dam. V'nasati panai b'nefesh ho'yecheles es adam. So Hashem says, I will put my face or all my free time about this person who eats dam. So yochel dam, anyone who eats blood, I will make sure that he gets chorus, he gets wiped away. And I will wipe him out from among the nations. And the next pasuk explains key, right? Key, why is this? Because nefesh habasar badam hu, he. The nefesh of the basar is badam. The nefesh, we're going to explain this, it's Rashi, but literally Rashi has to come to explain what does that mean. The nefesh of the meat is in the dam. So Rashi explains, let's see Rashi on Pasuk Yud Aleph. Rashi on Yud Aleph says, everyone have Rashi on Yud Aleph? Ki nefesh ha-basar shel kol berya. The nefesh of basar. So Rashi says, what does basar mean? Basar of the meat is the flesh. The basar. So Rashi says, basar means kol berya. Basar means, like we say, roifei chol basar mafli la'asais. We say in Asher Yotza. Hashem is the healer of all flesh. It means all mankind. Yesh lachko. You can think about that. Maybe it means all of the flesh. Okay. Anyway, but that's what Rashi is saying. Nefesh ha-basar shel kol berya. The nefesh of every creation, bidam hi tluya. Rashi says it, bidam hi tluya. It's dependent upon the blood. That means every person's life is depends upon the right that he has enough blood in him. And if he doesn't, then his nefesh will fly away. This is part of the pella of Asher Yotzar. Asher Yotzar, we say, mafli, what's the pella? So that one of the pshatim, I believe it's Rashi and Brachas, and Daf Samach says that the pella is that the nefesh is tied in with the guf. As long as you are healthy, your nefesh is there also. But your neshama, right? Your neshama, which is a ruchniistic thing, so it's not gashmias. But if you stop eating and you starve yourself for a day, then you'll be very hungry and you won't have power to do ruchnias. You won't have power to soar up, daven. Well, why is the neshama bound with the guf, with the mazing? As well as if a person, he just starves himself and he dies, his neshama runs away. His neshama leaves. He dies. Well, why does the neshama leave away? The neshama leaves because he starved himself. The neshama doesn't need food, so it's a pelagic connection. It's a tliya. They're connected, the neshama and the guf. And the neshama flies away if the guf is and the guf also needs the neshama. So the connecting, that they somehow became linked together, the neshama and the guf, is the pella. Roifei chol basar mafli, it's the pella la'asais that Hashem made it, that we're able to work together like this. That's just as an aside, Rashi in Brachas. It's a kavana we should think about when we say Asher Yotzar. But over here too, Rashi is saying that nefesh habasar, the nefesh of every man, every person person, every creation is badam utluya. It's dependent on blood, because if he will lose blood, then his nefesh will fly away, like this exact shot. Being that the nefesh is totally dependent upon the right blood, he should have enough blood supply. Lefikach, therefore, now we have to look at the end of pasuk Yud Aleph. Let's go back to pasuk Yud Aleph. Va'ani, right? Below pasuk Yud Aleph. I have given you the blood, ala mizbeach, onto the mizbeach, lechaper al nafshei sechem, to atone on your nefesh. Hashem has given the blood's purpose in all the karbanis is you spritz it on the mizbeach and you get a kapara. The Gemara learns out in all the places in Shas, the minute you spritz it on the mizbeach, that gives you a kapara. The dam is the main part of the kapara when you spritz it. So therefore Hashem says, I've given you this blood as a kapara to be mechaper for your souls. Ki adam hu b'nefesh yichaper, because the dam is in the nefesh, and that will give the kapara. And then he even continues on, al kain, and therefore in pasuk Yud Beis he continues and says, therefore I have told the Yidden, kol nefesh mikem lo yiseichel dam, no one should eat dam. Okay, so we have three psukim here, which are very interesting. That this says the Isser from here is one of the main psukim, main sources that we have not to eat blood. Now, first we'll just speak out, what does it mean? Whose blood? Whose blood is us to eat? So let's go back to the first pasuk. In pasuk Yud, it said, "Umin hager agar b'soicham asher yochel kol dam." The pasuk in Yud said kol. Kol means any. So that sounds like you can't eat anyone's blood. Not animals, not fish, not humans. So Rashi here says, on pasuk Yud, Rashi says, "Lefi shenemar b'nefesh yichaper, yochel lo yechayev ela al dam ha-mot-kedoshim." So Rashi says, what does the next pasuk say? Why can't you eat blood? So here we're going to get into the reason why you can't eat blood, which is based on what the pasuk says. The pasuk says it's interlinked with the fact that the blood is given to us for a kapara. It's given to us to spritz on the mizbeach, and we get with that blood a kapara. So what does that mean? Just to draw that out, to bring it out a little bit clearer. What? Oh, the chair. Is the chair good? Okay. So the question is, what is the connection with the dam, the fact that it goes on the mizbeach, and the fact that we can't eat it? So Ramban learns up very literally that the pasuk is telling us that since there's such a higher job for the blood, that the blood has, its job is to be able to give us a kapara by spritzing it on the mizbeach. Therefore, that blood, which has such a holy, higher calling, is not fit for a person to eat it. It's not fit to eat such a thing which is such a holy purpose and mission. That's the pasuk. That's how the pasuk reads. Pasuk Yud says, don't eat it. And pasuk Yud Aleph is saying, why? Because the nefesh, habasar badami. So you read it like this. The nefesh is tied in with the basar. If a person will not have enough blood, then badamhi, it's totally on blood. If he doesn't have enough blood, his nefesh will fly away. So therefore, it comes out that the blood and the nefesh are intertwined. I mean, we could call the blood as a life-giving source. The nefesh is, as Rashi said, it's tluya. It's dependent upon the blood. If he loses blood, he loses his nefesh. So the blood is now taking the place of the nefesh. And therefore, when we spritz the blood on the mizbeach of the animal, it's in place of the blood that the person really should give. The person should give his own soul, and in place of giving the blood is instead of the soul, because the blood is intertwined. Ha-nefesh, ha-basar, badamhi, the nefesh is tluya b'dam, it's dependent upon having enough blood. So since the blood is now what we need to give up, if a person did a Vayikra, he has to give his own nefesh really for a kapara. His nefesh needs a kapara, so you give the animal on the mizbeach, you give its nefesh to Hashem. And how do you do that? By spritzing the blood, because the blood will then go on the mizbeach, and that's like you gave the soul of the animal in place of your own soul. That's the pshat of the Ramban, how he reads it here in the pasuk. Since I gave it to you on the mizbeach, I gave you the blood blood for a holy calling to give you a kapara, to give you a kapara al nafshe seichem for your nefesh. Therefore, it has a higher calling. So it's not fit that you should eat blood. And therefore, Pasuk Yud says, don't eat blood. Why? Because Pasuk Yud Aleph, because it has a higher calling. And he sums up again in Yud Beis, therefore, don't eat blood. Okay, now Marti, I said no one should eat blood. This is the first pshat of the Ramban, just based on the simple reading of the text. Ramban is always the pashtan. He always goes with the simple reading of the text, and that's how he breaks down the reason. This is the first reason that he gives why someone should not eat any blood.
Why would kapara be on the nefesh? The whole concept of kapara is on the physical, not on the spiritual, right? You're not giving your nefesh as kapara, right? You're giving the physical sin.
But the question is, who are you? Are you your nefesh or your guf? You are really your nefesh. You're really your neshama. So your nefesh really needs a kapara. Really, we're clothed in the guf. We have clothing on. We have 2 layers of clothing. But it seems like the neshama, the nefesh got dirty.
The kapara is for the nefesh, only not for physical.
Right. The physical is really is nothing much really. The physical is just it's just a lavush. It's a clothing which the great Kabbalah masters Reb Chaim Vital speaks about it, that afterwards it's a lavush that's going to fly away. The neshama is the main part, which we're really going to take with us to the next world. So when the Sha'ar Tshuva writes about it, when a person does a sin, he has to wash it off good, get rid of all the averos, like he has to use better cleanser. Each time he cleanses it again and again, he gets cleaner. He's talking about the soul. The soul has become dirty, and therefore the soul needs the kapara. We think of ourselves as the guf, but it's really a combination. But the ikar, which is going to continue on forever and ever, is a nefesh. I once had the shaila, Elikai neshama shenasata bi. Who's the bi? Elikai, we say Hashem, neshama that you put inside of me. Who am I? Am I the neshama? I'm the neshama. What do you mean bi? Okay, this is just food for thought.
Wait, it's a good question.
Okay, we're going to have to devote an entire class for that. Okay, so therefore that's what Rashi is saying in the Ramban. That's the reason why we don't eat blood. Based on that, what type of species is blood is aser? Which blood?
Right for the mizbeach.
So the answer is the blood which could go on the mizbeach and give a kapara. Right, goes very good. The psukim flow, and therefore any animal's blood who could be going on the mizbeach to be spritched for the kapara, that animal's blood you cannot eat. So therefore, dam of Adam. The Gemara actually learns this out in creases. The Gemara makes a drasha from who. It says who. Who Thu May. Only the animal's blood is Thu May. But we learn out from there, the only issur of eating blood is an animal. But a person's blood is mutter. One is, from the Torah, one's allowed to eat blood. That comes from a finger or whatever.
So if I make a boo-boo, I can suck the blood?
So now we have to devote to a whole class of if you're allowed to suck the blood off your finger, because there's a problem of marasayin. There's a shaila of marasayin. If something looks to be a little bit like you're doing an averi, you're not supposed to do that. So let's say the blood will gather in a cup. This is not a question. If the blood from the finger goes into a cup, one cannot drink that because of marasayin. Another also, if blood is in his lips or in his teeth, he could eat that if he wants to, because there's no marasayin, no one will see. On the other hand, there's a question: what will be by the blood of the finger? That is a shaila.
How's that marasayin?
The problem is,
people see it on your finger.
So people will see it on it, so there won't be any mistake. What's the problem with marasayin? Marasayin is people will think that this is blood from an animal. So blood and only blood of an animal is the only thing from the Torah that's also to eat.
I'm sitting at my desk and I cut my finger, paper cutting face. People are not looking at me.
So that's the question. The question is there marasayin on a finger being that everyone knows that it's obviously from the finger. So therefore, it's not from an animal. So that is one side. There seems to be a machlokes rishonim about this. Once we're going into this, this is according to Rashi. Let me tell you what Rashi's lashon is. Rashi says if there's some blood which is in the mouth, so Rashi says you're allowed to suck it. You're allowed to. A person's not. It won't be any maras ayin on that. So Rashi says, what's the reason? Because he says no one will see it. No one will see you sucking it. So he says, maras ayin is prohibited to do something even in your own room. It says if something is prohibited for maras ayin in public, you can't do it in your private room. So
trying to keep you off from this altogether.
So
right,
we'd have to go into the reason, but that could be. So therefore, they ask the question: why, in the case where it's in the mouth, so why is that mutter? Why do you say maras ayin? So Rashi says there's one explanation is that it doesn't look to the bystander, even if you would be in public, the blood in the mouth doesn't look like it's anything. It doesn't look like you're eating blood. No one can see that you're eating it. So if it's in the mouth, it doesn't look like you're eating blood. So you're asking what would be on the finger. It's a good question. We'll have to think about this.
You can even say like a person who sucks their thumb shouldn't suck their thumb because people might come to think that they're sucking blood.
So there's a Rabbi Wasserman who goes into this whole question. If you want, we could work into this. This is a whole different angle. But let me think. Let's think if it makes sense. I'll read you. I wasn't going to go into this, but let's think about it. It says that if there's blood on a piece of bread, if a person takes a bite of bread and there's blood on it, so the din is you have to scrape away that piece of bread, the part of the egg, and then you could eat it. So the reason is, why can't you eat the bread with the blood? Because someone might think that the blood came from an animal, and therefore it would be maras ayin. That's the first Gemara, and then the Gemara says, but if the blood is in the mouth, she says you could suck it because no one will see you. Rashi's words are leka de chazile. No one will see the blood. So then he asks, even though we said that you can't do maras ayin even in your own private room. So he says, yeah, but here, his words are, it's only if you're doing something which looks to be usser. But here, when you're sucking in your mouth, it doesn't look like you're eating blood. That's what they bring down over there. So you're saying that even if it's on your finger, that would also not look like you're doing something wrong because they can see it's on your finger. You're right.
Isn't there still the concept that the blood is the nefesh? I mean, when Cain kills Hevel, it says, Gold May, the blood of his brother is extremely different. So isn't that the part or just simply
well, what's the other reason? Either
the dumb and the nefesh.
So what?
It could be all blood is us.
So yeah, but the Ramban is saying the Gemara says that first of all. The Gemara says only dam of a behemoth is usher.
There's a difference between blood and bleeding. He's talking about bleeding and he's talking about blood. There's not blood per se, it's bleeding. A little bit came out.
Any blood.
Yeah. If it's not a source of blood forever, it's going to stop.
So the Gemara speaks about
you make yourself feel better.
The Gemara does speak about which types of bloods from an animal. There is the main blood, which the life is dependent upon, and then there's something else which comes later, is draining blood. That's dam hatamsis. The Gemara goes through that, but for us, any blood will be a problem. But from a behemoth will be a problem.
Why then an egg's blood in an egg?
A blood in an egg is also a question. It's a whole sugya there, a whole topic which we'd have to go into about what is that blood. Is the blood from an actual chicken? Maybe it was going to be hatched. That's a whole sugya we'd have to go into. But just on this is a nice idea that Rabbi is bringing up, that he says it could be that a finger would be mutter. We have to go to Rabbi Chanan about that. Okay, but that's the first reason of the Ramban. Now, the second reason is a different thing, a little bit what Rav Danny was bringing up, why it's usher to eat blood. And he says, he brings down his own reason, that Hashem created all of mankind to serve us. He's created the animals to serve us. So he says that in the beginning, for Noah, he only let them eat grass. After the Mabel, he gave them a heter. He said, you're allowed to eat also the animals. But the only exception was, he only let them eat the guf of the animals, only the bodies of the animals. But he said you cannot eat the blood of the animals because he says it's not right for one bali nefesh to eat another nefesh. One person who has a soul to eat the soul of the other one.
Wait. We don't say that the soul it's not nefesh.
Being that the soul is intertwined with the blood, so the Ramban says it's not right that one bali nefesh, one person with a soul, should be eating another one's soul.
When you say soul, what do you mean?
So it's really the blood, but since the blood is dependent upon the soul.
Yeah, what's not nefesh?
You see, you lose the blood, the soul runs away, the nefesh runs away.
Yeah.
It's separated.
It's not a shower, though, it'll be different.
He's not making it.
It's not a soul.
I hear what you're asking.
Okay, this is the other Ramban, the other Pshat Ramban. One nefesh shouldn't be eating another nefesh. Okay, we won't go into this other reason.
It's like, okay, there's blood, there's also the brain. Okay, without brain also the animal can't.
No, but okay, it's an interesting. We have to go into that. We have to look it up a little bit. You're right. There are certain.
He's translating nefesh as life force.
Right. Right.
It's not. He's thinking of neshama. Like an animal has a nefesh, but an animal doesn't have a neshama. So that's.
No, but even if
he's throwing him off, I think.
Even a nefesh or neshama, he goes on a little bit later and he wants to say an interesting thing that it could be you'll get that nefesh inside of you and it's going to mix things up. We'll go into it right now. I want to just get to the papers here. We'll go into the Mara Mokum here. Why would someone eat blood? So let's see the first part. Everyone has a paper here. You got it? So on the top, the first thing is the Gemara Makkas. The Gemara Makkas says, let's see the Gemara Makkas on the bottom actually. The Gemara Makkas says an interesting thing, that there's a reward for a person, let's see it inside, it says these are the mitzvahs that a person should do and he will live by them. So the Gemara learns out that there are two things. First of all, a person has to do mitzvahs. If you do mitzvahs, you get reward. Now let's say a person, he doesn't do a mitzvah. So the Gemara speaks out, if a person sits on the side and he doesn't do an aveira, so it's like this. I'll read you I didn't copy it, but the Gemara Kedushin, I just want to give an introduction. The Gemara Kedushin says that if someone sits by and he has an opportunity to do an aveira, and he doesn't do the aveira, it's worth a lot. Gemara says,
does that mean the person is tempted?
Yes, he's tempted to do an aveira.
A lot different than just sitting around alone in your room without any temptation.
Right, and he forced his Yetzer Hara, that he subdued his Yetzer Hara. The Gemara says in Kedushin on Daf Lamed Tes, a mitzvah yisera mizu. There's no bigger mitzvah than that. Someone subdues his Yetzer Hara.
If I'm not going to kill a person, I'm doing a mitzvah.
Are you tempted?
So this is the question.
I want to kill you, but I'm not going to.
So does a person get a reward for not killing someone? So the Gemara learns out that Yoshev v'lo yavar avera, if a person sat and didn't do an avera, the Gemara says it's a very big thing. The Gemara says it's only if he had a taiva, only if he had some sort of inclination to do it, then ein mitzvah gedola yosemizu. Then that's the biggest mitzvah in the world. But if he just sat down and he didn't kill anyone, he doesn't get reward for not killing anyone.
So why do we say mitzvahs asa is also asa?
No, it just means if you're going to do
positive mitzvah would be but you're saying that the Gemara is giving a lot of weight to refraining from doing an avera. Okay?
Right, sure.
But yet we have a klal that seems to contradict that. It says that mitzvahs asa dochalot asa.
If you have
two mitzvahs that you have a positive mitzvah and a negative mitzvah that present at the same time, because the positive mitzvah overrides the negative mitzvah. It shouldn't be that way.
You're saying the license should win.
According to this.
Right. That's an interesting question. Interesting question. Good question. So we'll have to think about that. But that's the Gemara. The Gemara says if you just sit down, I'm just sitting here, I'm not doing Avera, so I don't get schar for refraining from an Avera, only if I have a temptation. That's the Gemara. So now, based on that, let's go now to see why would a person ever eat blood? If I sit, do I get schar for not eating blood now? Better, let's go a little stronger. Does anyone want to eat blood?
No, so you're not getting schar.
Does anyone want to eat blood? So look at the Gemara. The Gemara says that it's despicable. The Gemara says, Asher Yasher, let's see the top line. Asher Yasher Asa Adam v'chai bohem. The Gemara Makis on Chav Gimel Amud Beis says that these are the mitzvahs. This is this week's parsha. It says this pasuk that a person should do and he will live. Ha kol hayoyshev v'lo yaver aveira. If someone sits and he doesn't do an aveira, noisen lo schar koisem mitzvah, and he gets schar like he did a mitzvah. This is a similar drasha, and Rashi learns out because it says Asher Yaseh As Adam Oisam v'chai. If he'll do these mitzvahs v'chai b'hem and he'll live by them, and Rashi brings down. If you look right on the top line above this Gemara, Rashi brings down v'samach that the pasuk right after this says ish kol sher b'saroi, that here is the whole parsha of who you're allowed to marry and who you're not allowed to marry. The mashmash, Rashi says it's mashma from the fact that it says all of these negative commandments, who you're not allowed to marry, that whoever does my statutes, I will give him chayim. These are my chukim. Whoever has ish kol sher b'saroi, he should not marry his father-in-law, his mother-in-law, all these rights. Hala Madita, says Rashi, we learn out from these two psukim, since they're one next to another, anyone who sits down and he doesn't do an aveira, he gets reward. That's the drasha. Because right now it's a very similar drasha, like I just said over from Kedushin. Same thing. Anyone who sits down, v'chai bohem, he does, says in the pasuk, Asher Yasa Adam, he does them. He lives with the mitzvahs. Which mitzvahs? Ish kol b'sher b'saroi loy sikrav. He shouldn't marry any of the people who he can't marry. He gets schar ka'oisa mitzvah. So the Gemara there obviously says that it's only where he had a temptation. So look at the next words of the Gemara. Reb Shimon bar Rabbi Yomer, Harei Yomer. It says in the pasuk, Rak chazak levilti yachol es adam. It says you should strengthen yourself. You should not eat the blood. Ki adam hu nefesh. Why not? Because the blood is the nefesh, as we explained from the Ramban. Uma im hadam, and look at the blood. She nafsho shel adam kotza mimenu. The blood, the person is disgusted from eating blood. The person has no inclination to eat blood, and still hapayrish mimenu mekabel schar. Someone who separates from eating blood, he's going to get reward, as the pasuk says, Rak chazak levilti as adam. Ki adamu nefesh. It says you should strengthen yourself and you shouldn't eat the blood. And it says over there you're going to get arichas yamim. A person will get long life if he doesn't eat blood, I believe. So the Gemara asks, the Gemara makes a kolshkin. Madach, someone who just refrains from eating blood, which he has no taiva to eat, he has no inclination to eat, he gets schar. So gezel v'araya shenafshi shel adam misavelen. So if someone has a taiva for gezel, to steal or to marry someone who he's not allowed to, and he refrains. So he says, could you imagine alachas kama v'kama? Could you imagine how much schar he'll get? Could you imagine how much reward he's going to get? Imagine Dami has no taiva to eat, and he still gets the reward. So Koshkein, Rayas, and Gezel for sure will have a big reward if he separates from those. That's the Gemara, and then the Gemara even goes on to Rabbi Hanania ben Akasha. It seems like each Gemara, one after another, there is a reason why every Gemara is brought down one after another. It's not by chance that any Gemara is after the other.
Didn't you just contradict yourself? Or didn't the Gemara's contradict themselves?
About if you...
Well, first you said that you only get schar if you refrain from something that you're tempted to do.
Right.
And now the Gemara brings a case of
dam.
That everybody finds despicable, and yet you're given schar.
So here we have the question of the year. Fragt Reb Steinman, Reb Aaron Leib Steinman, is a good gadol. He asked the question that you asked. How could the Gemara say you get schar for dam? Dam, a person. Dam is the nefesh. That's true. But he asks it that who has a taiva for it?
Right.
It's despicable. So who would want to eat it? So if you don't want to eat it, the rule is that you don't get schar for refraining from an aveira unless you have a taiva to eat it. So if you don't have a taiva, so why should you get schar for refraining from eating dam?
We are eating kosher foods.
Yes.
Kashrut removes blood. The goyim that I mentioned early on don't remove the blood, and I have a feeling to eat the blood because it's, from what I understand, it's extra geschmack, right?
It does?
So
that's my question.
We've got to understand that there are people who look to eat the blood. We're sitting, Baruch Hashem, with the correct thoughts, but there are people who want to eat the blood. So
there are.
The Gemara says that it's despicable.
Yeah, because that's what we understand.
So for us, let's go for us. For us who is despicable, do we get credit? Do we get reward for not eating blood? That's the question for us.
Maybe.
Yes, because I think there could be an immediate temptation to, as Mr. Leibovitz says.
What's your temptation? But they have a temptation. Do you have a temptation?
You can have the same temptation as them. If it's going to make a geschmack, then
does it make a geschmack?
But the Gemara says that it's despicable. We have to work with the Gemara. The Gemara says it's despicable.
I'm asking you, do you find it interesting and palpable? Do you have a taiva to have a good drink of dam now?
Despicable.
We don't want it. It's despicable.
Like it's
what? That's just it's despicable. So why does and the Gemara also says disgusting. So if it's disgusting, so why should we get reward for refraining?
It's difference between disgusting and doable.
It's doable. You could do it.
It's doable. It's disgusting, yes. But it's doable.
It's not the right derech.
So you're on the derech, Chris. You're on the derech not to do it. So there is a temptation. Well, even though it's not so
even if we were faced with the temptation, we don't take it.
Right.
Automatically. So why do we get disgusted?
There you go.
That fits in with you. Even if it comes our way and we can see it, we would like to do it. We don't do it because that's the way we are. So why
you don't have a temptation. You don't have a temptation for blood. Why should you get reward?
Okay, you missed the beginning.
He's agreed with you. If you don't have a temptation, it's doable. Let's say a person doesn't have a taiva to kill. So does he get a reward for not killing?
No, but I think it's easy when you're busy eating your steak or the meat, whatever it is. It's easy to say, well, let's not worry about the draining the blood. Let's do and eat. The fact that you're draining the blood,
it's an interesting point. But does he have a temptation for it?
Well, time.
Okay, so Rod's bringing up maybe if I have a steak that has blood on it, if it wasn't salted properly, then that would be.
I'm going to reject it.
That would be a question. Yes.
Maybe there is temptation in the sense that we think it's disgusting because it looks disgusting. But the truth is, if you think about it, it's blood, it has life in it. Like it's a drink of life. So if you really think about it in that sense, there is temptation in that.
It's not a good commercial.
Why? Why not? If we say this is the...
It's despicable to drink.
It's despicable just because it looks and tastes disgusting.
Right. So that's all you need.
I think he's trying to say maybe it makes you
because if you really think about it, like the drink, if God says I need, like the blood is the Susan Torah, that blood is something that gives you whatever life, has and you like think about it in that weird way, but there is temptation.
But it has to give a temptation. So you have to conjure up in your mind. Well, this is your homework to think if you have a taiva for that. After all that, you're just giving a theory. You're throwing out a theory, but it has to really make you want to eat blood. And if you don't really want to eat it, then that will not. Then that shouldn't classify for getting a mitzvah of not eating blood.
Temptation.
Because you have to have it. Yoshav aloy avar avera is only if you have a taiva. You want to.
It just says despicable. It means that it doesn't look good.
It doesn't taste good either.
Maybe it doesn't taste good too. Regardless.
Disgusting.
Of course it
The whole
is.
thing is disgusting.
Okay, so I want to just.
It's Marit's eye.
Yes, you don't need it
For yourself.
What?
I guess you don't need the time to do that.
So but the question is, but the Gemara in Kedushin says, Yosha v'loy avar aveira.
Why do we say right after Rabbi Hanan ben Akasher on there? What's that?
He says, and Rashi learns, what does Rashi say? That he holds himself back from Averis. Therefore, he gave us a lot of mitzvahs in Averis that we shouldn't eat. Why? Because so therefore you'll pick out your Avera, but it has to still go with the Gemara and Kedushin that you have to have a taiva for it. You're right. It's an interesting thing, but the question is how. If it's disgusting, you're right. It's for sure that dam he's going to get. People will get reward for. The question is how. But he has to have a taiva.
It's proportionate to each person. It's not.
Right, you're right. It's for sure. Every person is cut. Every person is disgusted.
Manu, what's the terror?
So let me give you the mahalach. The mahalach is this is. You're right. We have to work on this, and Oleg, we have to fight it out. But for now, let's just get to the teretz. One teretz from Reb Dessler. Reb Dessler brings down the Gemara in the Dharam. The Gemara here. Let's see the Gemara in the Dharam. Fascinating Gemara. The Gemara says it's on the top here. Everyone, make sure you and your neighbor have it. 4 lines from the bottom of the last Gemara in the Dharam. So the first wide line. Ahu Noyef. Everyone has it? Ahu Noyef. There was one adulterer who was being mizana, and he went to someone's house. He went to the house of this lady. Asa Gavra. So all of a sudden, the husband came home. Salik Noyef. So this guy, this adulterer, he ran and he hid. Hayosef Bekloi. He ran and hid in the curtains where no one could see him. Right? Bekloi Bava, by the door. Having mechatan tachli taman. So the husband came home. He sat down. He was going to eat this piece of food. The problem was the ta'aminan chavya. The problem was that a snake tasted a piece of the food, and if a snake tastes part of the food, it lets out a venom. That's why you can't eat from waters which were open overnight, because the snake might have let some venom in it. So therefore, the man was about to eat some of that poisonous food. Boy more de besa lemecha. Right. So that the husband wanted, the husband of the house wanted to eat menhanu tachli, from that food. V'loi daite say, and his wife didn't see it. His wife would have stopped him if she had seen, but she didn't see it. So this husband sitting in the curtains, this adulterer sitting in the curtains there, he's watching as the guy's picking up this poisonous piece of bread to eat. So what would you do in that situation? So hopefully he won't be in that situation. But what would that person do? So the noyev, he said, Loi teichel ben hoin. Don't eat it. The ta'aminan chavya. A snake tasted that piece of bread or whatever it was. So the man put the bread back down, but he ran to Rava and he said, Rava, what do I do? Am I mutter? 9:15. Am I mutter to marry to stay with my wife? So the Ran, by the way, speaks out that it's not that he's for sure. It's not that he's usher to his wife because there was no edim on anything that he did anything wrong. But it's a good thing. Rashi said, the Ran says that that all Baal Nefesh should send her away. So Rava said he is mutter. He could stay with his wife, and there's not even a nice midas chasidus. It's not even a pious thing to divorce your wife because she is tahar. She's clean. How? How did he know? So he says because imisi the avad isura. Because if this zoyna would have really had done something wrong, so nichalei delechol velemos. He would have been happy that the guy should eat it and die. Right? Because then he could marry her. Then he could take her and marry her. That was straight up. He won't have any problems. He'll have the husband out of his life. That's the best thing.
So this is saying she's not.
What?
So this is saying she's not a bad person.
So therefore you see that she's clean, because from the fact that the guy jumped out and said that it's poisonous.
He blew his own thing.
He blew his cover, is a raya that he obviously wasn't mizana, and therefore she's clean. And because if he was really mizana, he would have rather he died, because the pasuk says ki noyafu v'dam b'deim. Because the husband ran in, he had no place. He quickly ran and hid.
They're on the way.
Why? You don't understand my question?
Why what?
why is he? If he never did anything, why is he hiding behind the curtain?
No, he didn't want to be caught that he's in the house. He could.
You're saying it wasn't that they were in.
Right.
They were in the beginning of the process.
They didn't do anything wrong yet. They didn't do anything wrong. So what?
The problem though. Why would this? Why do you have?
What?
Yichud. What you doing inside there?
So therefore, if he would have been a noyev, the Gemara says a pasuk dam b'deim. They would kill. If he's a real noyev, he would kill. It must be he wasn't a noyev. He's clean. He's tar.
He was on his way to being. He didn't get to it yet.
So the Gemara is saying he's not a noyev because if he was noyev, then he would have been dam. He would have killed. So therefore, she's tar.
Maybe he's okay with.
Wait, so let's just finish up, and I'll take all questions afterwards because we have few more minutes. But they think, but he's giving up his stuff. Okay, we're going to speak about it after. So the Gemara asks, Pshita, isn't that simple? That anyone who is a real zoyna, he obviously would kill. He obviously wants to marry the lady openly for everyone. He would take her. That would be his new wife. What could you ask for better? Of course, he wants him to die.
It's necessarily true, though.
Why not?
Because if I'm going to play the field, why would I want to be married?
Good question.
So, but because she's already taken, she's married. You want that? This is the best.
You've chosen her.
I've chosen somebody else.
So let's see inside what the Gemara says. So the Gemara says, isn't it pashut that of course? Why do you have to even bring a pasuk that they would kill? Of course they would kill. Why does the Gemara have to tell me this din and bring a pasuk that if he was really a zayna he would kill, and for the fact that he didn't kill is a raya that he's tar? You don't have to bring a pasuk for that. The Gemara says, I would have thought Isura Avad. Really, maybe he did an Isser. Really, he was with her. But Isura Avad. But but the reason why he jumped out of his cover is the nichale deloy lemos bal, because he's happy that the husband should not die. He wants the husband to still stay alive. Because he wants his wife, that lady's wife, that lady, to be forbidden as a mayim genuvim yim taku. The rule is mayim genuvim yim taku. A person would rather have stolen water. Stolen water stays better than regular water.
That's the kesher for Donna.
Stolen waters is much better.
That's why.
And now this 1 second, I want to ask you. So what? 1 more minute. We have this very good. You don't want to stop right now. So therefore, the Gemara take Kamash Malon. I need a pasuk to say that not like this. The question is, what is the Kamash Malon? Kamash Malon not like that.
No, that's why.
What's the Kamash Malon?
That's why Dom would have a type of.
Oh, very good. Right. That's going to be the end result. But I just want to bring out this is a very geschmack of Gemara. So the Havamina was Rabbi said, I would have thought that Mayim Genuvim Yim Taku, and he really was over an Isser, but he wanted the husband to stay alive, and therefore for the fact that he jumped out, it could be he's really guilty. Kamash Balan, the pasuk says, what's the Kamash Balan? Kamash Balan, he needed
that he is.
The question, what's the Kamash Balan at the end of the Gemara? So I'll tell you 2 ways to say it.
Kamash Balan that he's not such a tzaddik.
One Kamash Balan is that he weighed out the sides, and he says, Mayim Genuvim Yim Taku is a nice taiva to have. It's a good thing to do. But on the other hand, I don't want to but I don't want to kill him. I don't want to kill him. That's one side you could say that the Gemara was machadish. Right? The Gemara has the Havamina. Mayim Genavim Yutaku maybe would be the reason that he's really guilty. But even though he's guilty, but he still would rather
let him live.
Let him live
because he wants Mayim Genuvim.
Because he wants Mayim Genuvim.
If he dies, he doesn't get Mayim Genuvim.
So what was the Kamash Malan? So Kamash Malan, he needed a pasuk to say not like that. The Gemara ends off. The last words are Kamash Malan.
That he never did anything. He was innocent. Is that what it is?
So this way he's still a bad guy.
So let me just read you Taisus. Kamash Malan. We'll look at Taisus on the bottom line. Kamash Malan. You see Taisus right underneath it. Taisus underneath the Gemara. Kamash Malan. You see the Gemara, the line right underneath the Gemara, the bottom line there. He says over there, Mayim Genuvim Yim Taku Kidamar B'Sanhedrin Nito Mehem Nito Tam Bia V'Nitein La'Ovei Aveira. That the Gemara says that the real Tam of being mezana is when it's not with the wife, because there's mayim genuvim yimtaku. But that's a Gemara, and that Gemara you have to be a Talmud Chacham to know that Gemara. And the Gemara therefore says that guy who's being mezana, he doesn't know that Gemara. He doesn't know that this whole svara mayim genuvim yimtaku, that it's more sweet when it's stolen.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he knows the thought.
No.
It's a reality.
Just ask Reb Dessler. Reb Dessler asks, it's a reality. Why do you have to know the Gemara? If it's sweeter to be stolen, then it's sweeter to be stolen. What does it have to do with this guy not knowing the whole drasha that the Gemara says that nowadays it's more sweet to be stolen? So Reb Dessler says that it's an idea of givers and takers. He says this whole idea is that someone who does an Avera, why does he do an Avera? Why does he have a taiva? He has a taiva because it's out of his range. He's not allowed to have it. That's why. He's not allowed to have that, right? That lady is usher to him, so that makes it sweet, right? He wants that extra money or that thing because it's out of his range. He's not allowed to have it. Therefore, he has a taiva for anything which is not in his ballpark. He wants that, right? Adam, he had everything in Gan Eden. One thing he couldn't have, one fruit. He wanted that fruit. Why? He had everything there. He had malachim giving him meat and wine and everything because that was prohibited to him. So it's called the chutzalai. Anything outside of you have a taiva to get. You want to, right? The big test is you want food, right? How much food do you want for breakfast? 4 slices of bread is good? Fine, 4 slices of bread, right? Let's say the peanut butter comes and the jelly and the chocolate spread. How many pieces of bread do you want after you had 4? 4 and then you want 5. Why do you want 5? I thought you said you only need 5 for breakfast. The answer is the taiva wants more. You have 4. Okay. That's the answer. The answer is...
Is he innocent or guilty?
No, so he's taught. He's innocent.
Okay,
he's innocent.
So it's Kamash Malan.
Yeah.
You would have thought that he would keep her alive because of Mayim Genuvim. Kamash Malan, no.
So in reference to us,
he was really...
we're going to speak about it, but in reference to us, that's the answer to blood. The answer to blood is because since it's prohibited, therefore there becomes a taiva to eat the blood. So now every person thinks, the Torah says, don't eat blood, don't eat blood, don't eat blood. Oh, how does it taste? How does it taste? Maybe it tastes good. Therefore, now he has a taiva. On that, the Torah gives you reward. Every time you have a taiva, for that disgusting thing, you get reward.